She paid for the venue, got humiliated, and Vanessa tried removing her legally. Accidents all planned.
She actually smiled when she saw me standing next to the trash cans, like she'd planned it. I was at my sister Vanessa's wedding, heels sinking into wet grass, staring at a flimsy chair labeled with my name set outside, behind the venue, nowhere near the ceremony. I paid for half of this wedding. I handled the vendors, the deposits, everything. And she stuck me out there like I didn't exist, like I didn't matter. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I turned around, grabbed my gift, and walked out while the music started inside. I was halfway to my car when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it until a shaky voice said, "Hi, this is the coordinator. We can't start without you." And then she said something that made my stomach drop. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. She lowered her voice like she didn't want anyone near her to hear. "Your name is still on the venue authorization." I stopped walking. For a second, all I could hear was the wind moving through the hedges along the parking lot and the muffled music from inside the building. Guests were clapping somewhere beyond those glass doors, and I was standing there with a boxed gift in one hand, car keys in the other, trying to understand why the wedding coordinator sounded like she was about to panic. "What are you talking about?" I said. She took a breath that crackled through the phone. "I mean, we can't finalize the ceremony clearance without you present." Ceremony clearance. The phrase made no sense in that moment. Nothing about any of this made sense. 10 minutes earlier, I'd been staring at a folding chair beside two black trash cans, reading my own name on a place card like it belonged to someone else. Now, the coordinator was calling me like I was the one person they suddenly needed. I turned and looked back at the venue. It was one of those restored estate properties Vanessa had obsessed over online for months. White stone walls, manicured gardens, expensive lighting, the kind of place where every corner looked staged for photos. I knew every detail because I'd been the one dealing with half the vendors. I knew which florist had shown up late to the walkthrough. I knew the caterer needed the balance paid 2 weeks early. I knew the rental company had swapped the gold chairs for ivory, and Vanessa cried about it for an hour. And I knew exactly how much of it I had paid for. That was the part that kept hitting me the hardest. Not just that she'd insulted me, not even that she'd done it publicly. It was that she had let me carry pieces of this wedding for months. Money, errands, phone calls, favors, and then, when the day came, she made sure I understood exactly where I belonged. Outside. Not at the back. Not off to the side. Outside. Next to the trash. Like she wanted the message to be impossible to misread. The coordinator was still waiting. "Are you there?" "Yeah," I said. My voice came out flatter than I meant it to. "I'm here." She hesitated. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize there was a family issue." I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny in me. A family issue. That was one way to put it. Vanessa and I had always looked close from the outside. That was the thing. In photos, we made sense. She was older by 7 years, polished, loud in a way people mistook for confidence. I was the quieter sister, the useful one, the one who remembered birthdays, handled logistics, stayed late cleaning up. People always said Vanessa lit up a room. They never noticed who was plugging in the lights. When she got engaged, she called me crying before she called almost anyone else. She said she was overwhelmed, that she wanted the day to be perfect, that she didn't know who else to trust. I believed her. I really did. And because I believed her, I said yes to things I shouldn't have said yes to. Yes, I'll cover the deposit for now. Yes, I can call the venue. Yes, I can meet the coordinator on my lunch break. Yes, I can handle it. That had always been our pattern. Vanessa asked like everything was an emergency, and I stepped in before I had time to ask myself why no one else was stepping up. On the other end of the line, the coordinator cleared her throat. "Can you come back inside?" I tightened my grip on the gift box. "Why now?" Another pause. That was when I knew this was bigger than a scheduling issue. People who are trying to calm you down usually answer fast. People who are scared choose their words. Because, she said carefully, the documents we have on file don't match what your sister submitted this morning. My chest went tight. What documents? I really need to explain in person. Inside the venue, the music cut off, just like that. 1 second, it was floating through the doors in soft, elegant waves. The next second, silence. Not full silence, more like the strange, restless hush of a crowd realizing something is wrong and trying not to be the first to say it. I could picture it without even seeing it. Guests turning in their seats, the officiant checking the timeline, Vanessa's smile starting to harden around the edges. My phone pressed warmer against my ear. I left for a reason, I said. You saw where she put me. I know, the coordinator said, and for the first time her voice lost that polished, event professional tone. She sounded human. Tired. I saw it, and I'm sorry. That hit harder than I expected, because no one else had said it. Not my mother, who'd looked away when I found the chair. Not my aunt, who suddenly became very interested in fixing her shawl. Not the bridesmaid who passed right by me carrying champagne flutes like I wasn't standing there in full view. Everybody had seen it. Nobody had stopped it. I swallowed and looked down at the little white gift card taped to the box in my hand. I had written it 3 nights ago. I'd even rewritten it because the first version sounded too stiff. That was the kind of person I'd been all the way up to the moment Vanessa smiled at me over those trash cans, still trying to get the wording right for someone who had already decided I didn't count. What exactly did she submit? I asked. The coordinator exhaled slowly. Please come to the side entrance. I can't discuss the rest over the phone. Then, before I could answer, I heard another voice in the background. Sharp. Female. Familiar. Vanessa. Even muffled through the phone, I knew the rhythm of her anger. Fast, clipped, controlled for the first few seconds, and then rising when people didn't move quickly enough. She was asking where someone had gone. No demanding. There was a scrape, like a door opening too hard. The coordinator must have shifted away from her, because the sound changed, and I caught only fragments. I said, fix it. Not walking down twice. Where is she? My stomach dropped all over again. Where is she? Not, where's my sister? Not go get Aria. Just she. The coordinator came back on, breathless now. Please. If you leave the property, this gets more complicated. I stared at my car. All I had to do was open the door, toss the gift on the passenger seat, and drive away. Let Vanessa explain her own disaster. Let her stand in that perfect white dress and feel, for once, what it was like to lose control of a room. But I didn't move because beneath the humiliation, beneath the anger, something colder had started to form. Documents. Authorization. Your name is still on the venue. Vanessa hadn't just wanted me out of sight. She had wanted me gone, and whatever she had done it expecting I'd be too hurt to come back. I turned toward the building again. Through the tall windows, I could see movement now, shadows crossing fast, guests shifting in their chairs, staff whispering at the edges of the aisle. The whole wedding was holding its breath. Aria, the coordinator said, voice shaking now, if you don't come in right now, I'm going to have to stop everything and tell them why. I should have kept walking. That was the first thought that hit me as I turned back toward the venue. Because the second I stepped inside, I knew this wasn't just about a bad seat anymore. The air had changed. The soft music was gone completely now, replaced by a low, restless murmur. Guests were twisting in their chairs, whispering to each other. The officiant stood near the front, clutching his binder like he didn't know whether to continue or disappear. Even the groom looked confused, glancing toward the side of the room where staff had gathered in a tight, tense cluster. And right in the middle of it, Vanessa, perfect dress, perfect hair, Not a single thing out of place, except her expression. Tight. Controlled. Barely. Her eyes snapped to me the second I stepped in through the side entrance. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Not relief. Not anger. Something closer to calculation. Then it was gone. "What are you doing back here?" she said, already walking toward me, her heels sharp against the floor. No greeting, no pretending, just that. I didn't answer right away. The coordinator hurried up beside me, clutching her tablet like it might explode. "Vanessa," she said carefully, "we need a moment." "No," Vanessa cut in, her voice low but cutting. "Whatever this is, you can say it in front of me." Of course she wanted control, even now. The coordinator hesitated, then glanced at me. I could feel it again, that shift, that strange, subtle change in how people were looking at me. Not like I was invisible anymore, not like I didn't belong, like I was necessary. I called Arya because, the coordinator began, choosing every word, "there's an issue with the venue authorization." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "What issue?" she asked, too quickly. The coordinator tapped her screen, then turned it slightly toward both of us. "The contract and ownership authorization are still partially under Arya's name. The final transfer wasn't completed." Silence. Not the soft kind. The heavy kind that spreads. Vanessa let out a short, sharp laugh. "That's not possible. I submitted everything this morning." "I see that," the coordinator said, voice steady but strained. "But the system flagged inconsistencies in the documents. Without her confirmation, we can't legally proceed." There it was again. Can't proceed. I felt something shift inside me. Slow, quiet, but solid. Vanessa turned to me then, fully. No audience mask now, no bridal glow. Just her. "What did you do?" she said under her breath. I blinked. "I didn't do anything." "Don't lie to me," she snapped, stepping closer. "You've always had a problem with letting me have anything that's mine." That almost made me laugh. Mine. I thought about the deposits, the calls, the contracts that had originally come to my email, with my name printed cleanly across the top. "I didn't touch your documents," I said. "I didn't even know there were new ones." Her eyes searched my face, like she was trying to decide if I was telling the truth or if I was smarter than she thought. Behind her, I noticed the groom approaching, slower this time, his expression shifting from confusion to something sharper. "Vanessa," he said, "what's going on?" She didn't turn around. Not immediately. That told me everything. "Nothing," she said quickly. "Just a small delay." The coordinator inhaled sharply. "It's not a small delay. If this isn't resolved, we may have to suspend the ceremony entirely." That landed. You could feel it ripple through the room. Conversations getting quieter. People leaning in. Suspend the ceremony. The groom's brows pulled together. "Why would we need her?" he asked, nodding toward me. That question hung there. Why her? Vanessa finally turned to face him, and for the first time, she didn't have an answer ready. Just for a second, but it was enough. The coordinator spoke again, softer now, but every word cutting clean, because legally, she's still tied to the venue. The groom looked from her to me, then back to Vanessa. "Vanessa," he said slowly, "what does that mean?" Vanessa's fingers curled slightly at her sides, and that's when I saw it. Not anger, not embarrassment. Fear. Real, unmistakable fear. She stepped closer to me, her voice dropping so low only I could hear it. "You need to fix this," she said. Not please. Not can you. Need. I held her gaze. "For someone who doesn't count," I said quietly, "you seem to need me a lot right now." Her expression cracked just for a second, and that's when the coordinator said the one thing that made everything stop again. "If the documents were altered incorrectly," she said, voice tight, "we may be dealing with something more serious than a delay." Vanessa went completely still. and I realized this wasn't just a mistake. So what exactly had she done? Vanessa didn't answer. She just stood there, staring at the coordinator like if she ignored the words, they might disappear. But they didn't. "What do you mean more serious?" the groom asked, his voice sharper now, cutting through the room. The coordinator hesitated again, but this time there was no smooth way around it. "I mean," she said carefully, "the ownership and authorization documents submitted this morning don't fully match the original contract. And until that's clarified, we can't proceed." A ripple moved through the nearest guests. It wasn't loud, but it spread fast, heads turning, whispers stacking on whispers. Vanessa finally snapped out of it. "They match," she said firmly, too firmly. "There's no issue. Just fix whatever system error this is." "It's not a system error," the coordinator replied, holding her ground now. "The signatures and authorization fields were flagged. We need verification from Arya before we can continue." There it was again. My name, out loud, not invisible anymore. Vanessa turned to me so fast her veil shifted off her shoulder. "Say something," she hissed. I didn't move. "About what?" I asked. Her eyes flashed. "About how this is clearly a mistake." A few people were openly watching now. The groom wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. He stepped closer, looking between us, like he was finally realizing this wasn't some minor delay. "Vanessa," he said, slower this time, "why is Arya's name even on the venue?" Another pause, longer this time, and louder. "Because silence in a room like that becomes its own kind of answer." Vanessa exhaled sharply. "It was temporary," she said. "She helped with the initial paperwork. That's it." That wasn't a lie. But it wasn't the truth either. The coordinator glanced at me again. "The original agreement lists joint authorization. That means both parties need to approve final use." Joint? The word landed differently. It wasn't just that my name was there. It was that it mattered. The groom's expression shifted again, something tightening behind his eyes. "You told me everything was finalized weeks ago." "It is," Vanessa snapped, her composure cracking at the edges. "This is just a technicality." "No," the coordinator said quietly, "it's not." That word no cut cleaner than anything else. Vanessa's head snapped toward her. "Excuse me?" "If this isn't resolved properly," the coordinator continued, voice steady despite the tension tightening around us, "we risk violating venue liability agreements. That means the ceremony cannot legally continue. It cannot, not, should not, prefer not. Cannot." The groom ran a hand through his hair, frustration breaking through now. "Okay then, fix it. What does she need to do?" He looked directly at me. That shift, him addressing me instead of Vanessa, didn't go unnoticed. Vanessa saw it too. Her entire posture changed. Less commanding, more urgent. "She just needs to confirm," Vanessa said quickly, stepping slightly in front of him like she could control the narrative again. "Right?" she added, turning to the coordinator. The coordinator hesitated. Again, and that hesitation said more than anything else. "It's not just confirmation," she said. Vanessa went still. "What does that mean?" I asked. Now, the room felt like it was closing in. Even the people pretending not to listen were listening. The coordinator lowered her voice, but not enough. "It means," she said, "the document submitted this morning attempted to transfer full authorization." My chest tightened. Attempted, not completed. Vanessa's fingers curled into her dress. "That's standard," she said quickly. "We discussed that." "No," I said before I could stop myself. Everyone looked at me. "We didn't," I added, my voice steady now. Vanessa's head turned slowly, her stare locking onto mine. "A warning," but it was too late. The coordinator continued, more carefully now. "The transfer request requires both parties' consent. However, only one authorization was properly verified." A beat. Then, "Yours," she said, looking at me. Silence dropped again, heavier this time. The groom's voice came out low. So, you tried to transfer everything into your name? Vanessa didn't answer, didn't deny it, didn't even look at him. She was staring at me now, her expression shifting into something colder. You're really going to do this? She said quietly. I felt it, that familiar pull. The one that always made me back down, smooth things over, fix it. But then, the chair, the trash. You already did this, I said. Something in her face hardened completely. And that's when the coordinator said it. The one sentence that changed everything. If the authorization was submitted without proper consent, she said, voice tight, it could be considered a form of document fraud. The word hung in the air. Fraude. The groom stepped back like the space between them suddenly mattered. And Vanessa. Vanessa didn't argue. She didn't yell. She just went very, very quiet. And in that silence, one question started pressing in harder than everything else. How far had she actually gone to cut me out? Vanessa had never been quiet like that before. Not in arguments, not in fights, not even when she was wrong. Silence wasn't her style, control was. But right now, she wasn't controlling anything. The room had shifted too far. You need to explain this, the groom said, his voice low but firm now. He wasn't asking anymore. Vanessa finally turned to him, but the version of her standing there wasn't the one from 10 minutes ago. The polished bride was slipping just enough to show the edges underneath. It's not what it sounds like, she said. That line landed flat, because everyone in that room knew exactly what it sounded like. The coordinator stepped in, her tone careful but no longer soft. We're not making assumptions. We're just stating what's flagged. The system detected inconsistencies in the authorization transfer request submitted this morning. This morning, the groom repeated, eyes narrowing slightly. You did this today? Vanessa didn't answer right away. And that hesitation was louder than anything she could have said. I watched her closely now. Really watched, because pieces were starting to line up in a way they hadn't before. The past few weeks, her suddenly taking over vendor communication, cutting me off from emails, changing login access, telling me, don't worry, I've got it from here. At the time, it felt like control. Now, it felt like preparation. You were trying to remove me, I said, not loudly. But clearly, her eyes snapped back to mine. That's not... You were trying to remove me completely, I repeated. The coordinator didn't interrupt this time. Neither did the groom. Because now it wasn't about contracts anymore. It was about intent. Vanessa took a step closer to me, lowering her voice again. Can you not do this here? There it was. Not denial, deflection. I didn't move. You sat me outside, I said. Her jaw tightened. That's not the same thing. No, I said quietly. It's exactly the same thing. That landed. Because now the two things, what she did socially and what she tried to do legally, weren't separate anymore. They were the same pattern. Push me out of the room. Then erase me from the paperwork. Behind us, someone whispered, not even trying to hide it anymore. Is this about money? Vanessa flinched. Small, but real. The groom noticed it too. Is it? He asked. She turned to him quickly. No. This is being blown out of proportion. But it was already too late for that. The coordinator cleared her throat. We also need to address something else. All three of us looked at her. She glanced down at her tablet, then back up. The submission included a digital signature verification, she said, but it didn't fully match the original records tied to Aria's authorization. A pause. Then, it was flagged as potentially invalid. The words were careful, but the meaning wasn't. The groom's expression changed completely now. Not confusion, not frustration, something sharper. You signed her name, he asked. Vanessa's lips parted, but nothing came out. That was answer enough. The air in the room felt different now. Heavier, tighter, like everything was closing in on one point. On hair. I didn't think it would be an issue, she said finally, her voice quieter now. It was just to streamline things. Streamline. That word almost felt surreal in the middle of everything else. You forged it, I said. She shook her head quickly. No, You used my name without telling me, I cut in. On legal documents. Another silence. But this one didn't feel uncertain. It felt final. The coordinator spoke again, more firmly now. At this point, we need to pause the ceremony until this is resolved. We can't proceed under questionable authorization. Pause the ceremony. Not delay. Not adjust. Pause. The groom stepped back again, putting actual distance between himself and Vanessa now. I need a minute, he said, running a hand over his face. Vanessa reached for him. Wait. But he pulled away. Not dramatically. Just enough. And that was worse. Because it was deliberate, controlled, real. Everything she had built for this moment, the dress, the venue, the image, was starting to crack in front of everyone. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. I could feel eyes on me now from every direction. Guests, family, staff, all of them watching the same thing unfold. The same realization settling in. This wasn't just a wedding delay. This was exposure. Vanessa turned back to me one last time, her voice low, strained, and for the first time, not in control. If you don't fix this, she said, you're going to ruin everything. I held her gaze, and this time, I didn't hesitate. It's already ruined. The coordinator took a breath, then stepped forward. We're going to have to formally stop the ceremony, she announced. And just like that, everything collapsed. But the worst part, this still wasn't the end of it, because now everyone was going to find out exactly why. The room didn't erupt all at once. It unraveled, slowly, like a thread being pulled loose, one whisper at a time, one glance, one step backward. The kind of unraveling that doesn't need shouting to feel loud. The coordinator moved first, walking toward the front with controlled urgency, speaking quietly to the officiant. Within seconds, he closed his binder. That was it. No announcement. No dramatic speech. Just a clear, visible end. The ceremony wasn't happening. Guests started standing not all at once, but in uncertain waves. Some checked their phones, others leaned into each other, voices low but charged. What's going on? Did you hear what they said? Something about documents. Vanessa stood in the center of it all. Frozen, still in her dress, still holding the moment that was supposed to belong to her. But it didn't anymore. The groom had stepped away entirely now, speaking with one of the venue managers near the aisle. He didn't look at her. Not once. That absence said more than anything else. Vanessa turned in a slow circle, like she was trying to find something stable to hold on to, but every direction gave her the same thing. Distance. People weren't rushing to comfort her. They were watching her, carefully. I stayed where I was. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because, for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fix anything. The coordinator returned to us, her expression composed but firm. We've officially paused the event, she said. At this point, we need to resolve the authorization issue before anything can continue. Vanessa let out a short, hollow laugh. Paused? You just shut down my wedding. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried. The coordinator didn't react to the tone. We followed protocol. Protocol? Vanessa snapped, the word breaking now. This is my wedding. And this, the coordinator replied evenly, is a legal matter. That word again? Legal. It landed harder now that everything had stopped. Vanessa turned to me, her composure finally cracking completely. Just sign it, she said. Whatever they need, just sign it so we can move on. Move on. Like none of this mattered. Like the chair? Like the trash? Like the months of being used and then erased. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I saw something I hadn't let myself see before. Not just entitlement, expectation. She hadn't just hoped I'd go along with it. She had counted on it. You tried to take it without telling me, I said. Her expression hardened. It's not taking anything. It was always supposed to be mine. That was the truth. Not hidden anymore. Not softened. Just said, I felt something settle in my chest. Final. No, I said. It wasn't. Behind her, the groom walked back over, slower this time, like every step required a decision. Vanessa, he said, his voice controlled but distant. Is it true? She turned to him immediately. This is being twisted. Did you submit documents without her consent? He asked. Direct. Clear. No space to maneuver. Vanessa hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything broke. I was going to fix it, she said finally. It wasn't finished yet. That wasn't an answer, but it was enough. The groom exhaled slowly, looking down for a moment before meeting her eyes again. I can't do this, he said. Simple. Quiet. Final. Vanessa blinked. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not standing up there and pretending everything's fine when it's not. He gestured slightly at the room, the people, the situation. You lied. About something like this. It's not a big deal, she said quickly, stepping toward him. We can fix it right now. No, he cut in. That word hit harder than anything else had. Because it wasn't loud, it was certain. I don't even know what else you haven't told me, he added. That landed deeper. Vanessa stopped moving. For the first time all day, she had nowhere to go. Around us, the whispers weren't even quiet anymore. They were open, curious, judging. The kind of attention she had always wanted, just not like this. The coordinator stepped in again, this time more formally. At this point, we're required to file an incident report due to the document discrepancies. Vanessa turned sharply. You're reporting this? Yes, she said. It involves potential unauthorized modification of legal agreements. There it was. No soft language anymore. No buffer. Just the truth. Vanessa's face went pale. This is insane, she said. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, the coordinator replied. We're documenting it. That was the moment it became real. Not just a ruined wedding. Not just embarrassment. Consequences. Actual consequences. Vanessa looked at me one last time. Not angry now. Not even defensive. Just searching. Like she was trying to find the version of me that would step in, smooth it over, make it disappear. But that version wasn't there anymore. You're really doing this, she said quietly. I shook my head. No, I said. You did. And that was the end of it. Not with shouting. Not with drama. Just with clarity. I walked out of the venue the same way I had before. Through the side doors, past the same stretch of grass, past the same place where that chair had been, except now it was gone. Cleared away like it had never existed. But I remembered, I would always remember, my phone buzzed as I reached my car. I looked down, a notification, ownership status, active Aria Moreno. Still mine, legally, fully untouched. Inside the venue, everything had stopped. The wedding, the celebration, the illusion. And this time, it wasn't because I didn't belong. It was because they couldn't move forward without me. I got into my car, set the unopened gift on the passenger seat, and started the engine. No rush. No hesitation. Just a clean, key-it exit. And as I drove away, I didn't look back, because there was nothing left there for me. Only something I had finally walked away from, on my own terms.
Was it just jealousy? Or was it planned from the very beginning? Look closer.